Welcome to Trail Manners, the podcast so dedicated to mountain trails and running that they broadcast out of a 78 Volkswagen bus in the mountains. Who does that? Eric and Joel are your hosts and will bring you the trail life as you may have not heard it before. You hear about everything from gear reviews, nutrition to keep you upright and moving forward, and they'll even bring guests into the bus for conversations that you won't hear anywhere else. It's time for some running adventures on a higher elevation. The old 78 Volkswagen bus is fired up and headed to the mountains. Here are your hosts for Trail Manners, proudly representing the 801 with their passion and love for the trails, Eric Manning and Joel Hatch.
Welcome to the Trail Manners Podcast, episode number 80. Today we are going to be talking again with our good friend Melissa Solomon after her Zion 100 race. So if this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The Trail Manners Podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at trailmanners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes, or you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Trail Manners. All links from the show notes. Now let's get after it. All right, welcome to episode number 80 of the Trail Manners Podcast. We are on location here in Ogden, Utah at Roosters Brewing Company. Upstairs, we've asked the people to keep it down, but they're not.
Because they're enjoying some food.
They are.
And
so
beer.
It's restaurant week here in Ogden.
It is.
So you got good deals. We've took a photo that we posted earlier, and we've got cheese curds, but they're deep fried cheese curds.
They were delicious.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're yummy.
So we just broke Melissa into eating cheese curds for the first time
Ever.
Yes.
ever, and these are deep fried.
Yeah.
And you know what they say? I don't really. I just
Once you go deep fried, you don't go back?
I guess
Something like that?
Yeah, something like that. So that's what I was waiting for, to see if
Right.
someone had something for us. But we've had a great night. Amanda has been helping us out tonight.
Yep.
She's from New Hampshire.
She's pretty rad.
She is rad.
Yeah.
She's here just recently. And she's done a great job for us tonight with our beverages, our food, and just on point right now. So, as you already heard, we have back Melissa. As promised, that's right. Melissa Solomon. Melissa, you were just on our show a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you agreed to come back and talk to us again.
I know. I'm
Right.
a little nervous still, but less nervous than last time.
That's good.
Yeah.
She said she was 30% nervous this time.
Right, which is, I think, good. It's a healthy nervous.
It is. You need to be a little nervous, just
Right.
like a race. You have those butterflies
Yeah.
to get it going. But we have Melissa back on because, number one, she's super rad.
Yeah.
It was a great show. People loved it.
Thank you.
But she ran Zion 100 just a week ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Just a couple days ago.
So it was her first 100-miler, and you all know the story. If you don't, you need to go back and listen to the episode we had her on. And I don't know the exact number on that top of my head, but you'll find it. And so we want to talk to you about your first 100-mile race experience.
Yes.
So let's break it down.
'Kay.
So day before the race. Let's start there.
The week before the race.
Okay, Joel,
Leading up.
Okay, week
Right.
before the race, how many cheese curds did you eat?
0.
Okay,
Zero,
that's probably not. That was probably number one problem.
Yeah.
We'll count these as we go. For leading up to the race, you had a week to go before the race. What was your plan, training wise? What was going through your mind? First 100-miler, all the pressure because you announced on Trail Manners what you were doing.
I know.
Yes, which I didn't intend to do, honestly. I wasn't actually going to announce it on there. So that kind of added the pressure. But I think it was a good pressure that it added. It
I think
sealed
so.
the deal for me. And
Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't have backed out, but it definitely added that level of
Commitment.
Yeah.
Well, and we're enablers, and we'll talk about that near the end of the show. Off
Yes, we
something
will.
else, but yeah, I mean, you did. You put yourself out there in more, just a ton of ways. But this was new for you.
Yeah.
Right. So the week preparing for the race, how'd your sleep go? Your preparations go? How did it all unfold for you?
The week before, the nerves were actually really high because one of my biggest fears was not finishing. So I kind of had a hard time relaxing a little bit and not letting the pressure of the 100-miler kind of build up underneath me and let it kind of overflow. I took it pretty easy that week before. I ran probably about 8 miles or so early in the week.
It's a peak week for me right now. So that's good. That's good.
And just kind of focused on trying to get all the gear I needed and thinking through everything. I I had a spreadsheet that I created that had estimates of where I would kind of be when, and knowing when the elevation was going to kind of hit. So I would review that quite often throughout the week. So I had a plan in my mind. So it was mostly more mental planning, less physical the week prior, just making sure that my mind was kind of right and I was prepared.
Were you, I mean, you're obviously nervous.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, did you feel like you were sleeping and eating and, everything leading up to it was pretty much how you thought it would be?
Yeah, it was kind of how I envisioned. In the mornings when I would wake up, I'd kind of think, oh my gosh, I'm a day closer. It's coming a day closer. The mornings were worse than the night when I'd wake up. So, yeah, it's probably...
So were you sleeping like normal during the week, or was that disrupted?
I surprisingly think I slept pretty well.
That's
yeah.
good.
That's a huge plus.
Yeah. I don't usually have a problem sleeping, though. I like to sleep, but probably it's the early mornings that make it easier for me to go to bed at night.
Right.
But
okay.
So you're getting good sleep. Mentally was kind of where you were at, prepared-wise. So let me ask you this. Any phantom pains, phantom injuries? Like every once in a while you sit there and go,
when you kind of
go
through the taper.
Yeah.
You get the phantom that hurts. It really doesn't hurt.
Or it's like, oh, man, do I feel a twinge in my hammy or
actually,
shin splints?
I'm just thinking about this now. I was actually sick the week before. I don't know how I forgot to add that in the first part, but I actually came down with a really bad cold.
Like legit
and
cold?
a legit cold.
Okay.
A sore throat. The Tuesday before the race, I thought I was getting a sinus infection. I started feeling it kind of like in my nose and like the pressure in your teeth. That tingling in your teeth.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that morning, oh my gosh, I'm going to be sick for this race.
Right.
So now that I think back on it, that was definitely nerve-wracking because I was really nervous I was going to go into it sick. And I do think it played a little part in how my body reacted to the race.
Right.
But I think
you're okay, though.
Yeah,
right?
part of it was mental, I think, in the build-up. Something always has to come before a race.
Yeah, and that's why we talk. There's always those little phantom things,
Yeah.
the stupid things sometimes, too. So you were a little sick. When so the race, Design 100 starts on Friday.
Yes.
When did you head down?
We started driving down on Wednesday, and we camped Wednesday night. We just kind of car camped and took it easy because I wanted to get down to Zion at least a day before. I didn't want to travel to Zion the day of the race because when you drive, you usually stop at gas stations a lot and get too many snacks and things like that. And I think that will affect.
The
pork
Beaver
rinds.
gas station.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Is that before or after Fillmore?
It's after Fillmore.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So,
it's Fillmore
Fillmore
Beaver.
Yeah, there's a sign like that, folks.
It's got the best water in the country.
Does it?
Yes.
I never knew that.
Well, that's what the sign says.
Yeah, I've never tried it, but that's what it says.
Haven't either. I've just tried the Fillmore Beaver parts.
Yeah.
Right?
Jill shops at the boutique there.
Yeah.
You have the bumper sticker?
Not yet.
Not
I haven't
yet?
gone that far.
Okay.
It's
He's
not
got a
that
new car
trashy.
to put it on.
Yeah, exactly.
He might have one on there without even knowing. So when you left on Wednesday, where'd you car camp? Did you car camp down near Zion, or did you make it to like Provo?
We actually drove past and went into St. George a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we just thought we knew of a quiet place that nobody would probably be at, and somewhere that we knew we could camp. So we just drove a little bit through, and then Thursday morning we went to breakfast. Had some Even Stevens breakfast burritos.
Nice.
Yes.
Yummy.
Oh man, I'm craving
So
that.
good.
Yeah. The music was jamming there. They had a little sandbag, whatever that's called, a bag toss thing. What's that?
Cornhole.
They have a cornhole there.
Cornhole.
They do.
Did you say it a sand toss?
I didn't know what it was called.
She called it a sand toss.
She said, I heard the bag.
I heard sand toss, and then
Yeah.
she's like bag, and
AKA
then
sand toss.
Yeah.
AKA cornhole.
They do have a cornhole there.
That's cool.
It's
That's
a
the
good
best
place
Even
for
Stevens
the.
ever.
Yeah, we ate there. Yeah, it's a good place for the kids.
Cool. All right, so after your cornhole game
Yeah,
on
the sand
Thursday,
toss.
after you did some sand toss, that's when you went into Zion, the area. Now, did you camp there, hotel?
We stayed at a hotel.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's in like
Laverkin.
Laverkin. So these are real names for those that aren't
Yeah.
familiar. There's
So
Hurricane.
I think that if you're thinking about doing Zion next year, that hotel in Laverkin is actually closer than Springdale.
Yeah.
It is, and it's probably cheaper.
Springdale's pretty.
FYI, and it's brand new.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Got a pool
It's
and a
legit,
hot tub.
and it's close to the River Rock Roasting Company.
Yes.
That's my favorite coffee place.
You're damn right.
It's got that overlook.
It's got the overlook over the
Oh,
river.
man.
They've got good quiche.
Yeah,
That place is
just
so
their
good.
coffee.
Why didn't you tell me this before?
Okay, so corn green chili quiche is unworldly. It's so good.
Unworldly.
Yeah,
No
well,
sand toss.
I didn't name that. Our good friend Brienne did. I think it's good.
I love that place. The location is
I know.
ridiculous.
It's right next to Laverkin.
Yeah.
It's actually in Laverkin.
I just like saying Laverkin.
I know, it's funny, isn't
That's
it?
Joe's like Laverkin.
Yeah.
Turn at Laverkin. You take a left near Laverkin.
No, you take a right. If you're coming from St. George, you take a right from Laverkin to go the Virgin.
Past Hurricane.
Yeah, past Hurricane.
So you're down in. You stayed in Laverkin. And then night before the race. What time did the race start Friday morning? It was like
6
6
a.m.
Okay. So it is Thursday. You're totally relaxed.
Chilling.
No worries in the world because you just have a 100-miler the next day.
Totally relaxed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not shaking in my boots or anything.
So you have your hydration vest packed and ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ready to
I
go.
Drop
probably
bags are
brought
done.
way too much stuff to this race, you guys.
Yeah.
I probably had like 4 bins of gear.
You were
and
ready for everything, weren't you?
So we need to
Under
have
the
that
sun.
show.
Yeah,
We need to have
exactly.
that show because that's a huge issue sometimes for first time 100-milers.
Over planning.
But also I've been known to do that even after my first, right?
Really?
Because sometimes you're like, okay, I've got this killer vest. It's got all these nooks and crannies. What can I get in there? I may need that.
Yes.
You'll run races like that, and you'll get to the finish, and you'll have all the stuff you started with.
Yeah. I got stuff left over from last year when I was planning on doing Bryce,
Wow.
like gels and stuff.
Yeah, because you overpile. So you just like overpacked.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you didn't know.
Everything under the
Right?
sun.
Yeah, 'cause you wanted to be-
ready for every weather scenario.
Yes.
Yeah.
'Cause it was
and
supposed to
it was
rain a
gonna
little bit.
rain.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it was like going to be 90
It was
degrees.
going to be hot
and
on
then
Friday and rain on Saturday.
Yeah.
The weather was all over the place, so I kind of packed for
For everything.
everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so that night, did you get a good night's sleep night before?
No.
No? What'd you have the night before for 8?
Mexican.
Oh, that's a bad choice, by the way.
You think
Me
that's a
and-
bad choice?
We
Yeah.
have
We've had
experience with
experience
that.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
so
a
when
bad
you go
choice.
do Vaquero Loco, do not eat the Mexican foods in Afton.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will note that because I
Yeah.
go plain though. I just go with like chicken.
Doesn't
Fajitas.
matter.
Doesn't matter.
No.
Doesn't matter at this place.
I think I got something super mild that
Do we
place
have
in
a list
Afton.
going yet of what I've? Let's keep this list. No Mexican.
yeah, no Mexican. Well, in Afton.
Eat
No
cheese
Mexican.
curds.
Eat cheese curds. Yeah.
So you had Mexican food, which apparently must work for you if you've
Yep.
done it before. We will have a note at the end of the show with an asterisk not to do that. But so you did that. Did you get to bed early? Did you try to get to bed like 7, something crazy that you knew wouldn't
I
work
tried,
anyway?
but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It was probably about 10 o'clock
Yeah,
or
that's
so
pretty
at night.
average though.
I wanted to be laying down by like 9, but
Right.
just the nerves of everything and going through the pack
So
again.
was your husband and your daughter staying with you in the
Uh-huh.
same room?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
that happens.
It does.
you caught
but
up.
that might make things more stressful,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
making them watch Saved by the Bell reruns.
Your little girl's excited, right?
Oh yeah,
for
she
the next
wanted to
day?
play on the iPad and watch TV and it's exciting staying in a hotel room.
I know.
yeah.
And
still do like
they
it.
think it's a party, and I'm like, this isn't a party. This is
Yeah.
bedtime. We're
Yeah,
resting.
exactly.
We're here to,
You have no
folks,
idea.
We're here to run. Mommy's trained hard.
yeah.
So you get some sleep. You wake up. 6 a.m. start. What time did you get up?
Probably 4:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great time. Did you
That-
have breakfast? Like, some quesadillas or something like that?
I made some
Mexican?
protein pancakes that I brought with me, and that
What's
I
in
had
the protein pancake?
Eggs and oatmeal
Right.
and a little bit of olive oil and some milk
Wow. Yeah.
I-
That's a lot of food.
in a pancake
I guess.
form. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: is that something you do for you've done for your other races, or like your 50Ks?
Yeah.
50
Is that what
miles?
you do for your normal training, like a normal training run?
I don't eat as much before a normal training
Do
run.
you eat anything before a normal training
Yeah,
run?
usually I'll do like a banana or a piece of bread or something before a normal training run.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to get something.
Right. So
Going.
why'd you decide to go with more food right before the race?
I actually had been working with my friend that does nutrition, and
Right.
so she kind of helped me get a little bit of a nutrition plan in place before
Okay.
this, not specifically for the race. So
Right.
just kind of was carrying over some of the stuff that she worked with me on
Okay.
that worked in the past
Okay.
for me.
Right on.
Like Mexican food?
Yeah, like Mexican. She didn't tell me to eat Mexican food. She'd probably be like, "What were you thinking?"
What were you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Usually my Mexican food is like Cafe Rio, and that's not
Yeah, it's not Mexican food.
not
It's
the
not
same.
Mexican
No.
Okay, so you have your breakfast, and then you kind of mosey on over to the start. We had an interesting conversation as we had our cheese curds and beverages, before is you're talking about like some people, like when you show up to a start line, sometimes you don't feel like you belong, right? Did you feel that way for this race?
When I got to the starting line, I felt like, okay, this is going to be, it would frighten me, but I felt like, okay, these are like my people. Everybody's going through this together. And
That's
like,
right.
There's all these normal people. There's, no mega stars or anything that you have built up in your head that everybody around you is going to be like this superstar and you're going to be this regular Joe at the starting line and stand out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
And so I definitely felt like, wow, there's like a bunch of other just regular people here, and it kind of was calming to me because I had the idea built up in my mind that maybe I didn't belong with the type of people that would maybe be doing this race. Maybe they're way more elite than I am, so.
Right.
But then that went away.
Yeah.
For sure. So
That goes away quick.
yeah, it does.
Because it's still dark at that time of year.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be kind of anonymous.
Yeah. Yeah, you can for sure.
Saw some people I knew, and that was
That's fun,
That
huh?
was good too. Yeah, some hugs
Chat 'em
and some
up.
highs.
Yeah.
And, hey, I can't believe it's you.
Did some people
cool.
come up to you and say, "Hey, weren't you on the Trail Manners podcast?"
Yes, I had like 7 people.
7.
I was saying that as a joke.
I
Actually,
know, and
that's
she
kinda
like
funny.
she kept track.
You did? Wow. So did you know
it's
these
kinda
people,
funny, though,
or did
like
they
a
just?
few times I'd have somebody just run by me and they'd be like,
Oh,
"You're
they
on
recognize
Instagram,"
your.
or I've heard you. I heard your story.
That's so cool.
And
That's
I would
awesome.
just like in passing, so I'd be like, okay, cool.
That's awesome. No, I was
Yeah.
just saying that for fun, but that's really cool. So the race starts. You kind of get underway. Did you have a game plan going into the race? Like, just take it easy. This is kind of when I think I'll mosey through. I'll eat this then, that type thing.
Yeah, my mentality was just to make sure I didn't go out fast. I wanted to preserve as much energy to maintain like through the night and stuff. That was my biggest concern because I had never run through the night obviously before. And so I was okay kind of taking an easier pace just to make sure that I didn't run out of gas later in the day.
Right.
Which maybe could have adversely affected me. I should have probably, gone a little bit harder, a little bit sooner. But, you learn a lot from your first time. And
You do.
yeah.
And especially that, like you said, that course, there's a handful of climbs. You don't know when to spend your energy.
Yeah, definitely. Now that I've been through it, I would go back and do some things differently. And
Right.
the amount of studying that you do doesn't ever fully prepare you for it.
Right.
It helps, but it doesn't fully prepare you for
Yeah.
everything. But
And we've had that conversation on the show a few times. Sometimes that studying part works against you because you're overthinking, you're over preparing. Because we've had guests on the show, they're like, it's still simple. You put on a pair of shoes and you run.
yeah.
One foot in front of the other. And sometimes it is that overthinking, and that's why you pack so much,
Yeah.
or you just start out slower. I mean, all things that are normal for sure.
Yeah.
But I know I can myself, and I can count a number of people that you overplan, over-prepare,
Right.
overthink, and then you almost like, to some degree, and I've done this, you lose why you're there sometimes because you're like, oh crap, I got to do this, I got to do
Yeah.
that, I shouldn't be running this fast, even though I feel fantastic. So you learn a lot, but also learn what works for you.
Yeah.
Right? So you're in the race. You had a friend run with you, said, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so did you guys just run out the same pace, kind of the same plan to start with?
Yeah, we had the same plan. We had the plan to kind of stick together and keep each other a little bit in check. My friend that I ran with, his name's John. He has a lot more experience in running races like this, and so he really wanted to kind of help make sure that I was in a good position and that I was going to see that finish line. So that was kind of more his goal. He could have gone out a lot faster than I could have, but we just kind of planned to conserve that energy in the beginning. It's kind of funny because right before the race, somebody posted an Instagram picture. Corey Reese.
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys know
Corey
who that
Reese.
is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You guys would not believe the amount of people that tagged me in that photo and were like, "Flying monkey, you ready for
Yeah,
this?" And
that's
I'm
right.
like, "Okay, flying monkey is really scaring me right now. Why is everybody, freaking me out?" And that was the easiest climb of all of them.
Wasn't it?
Yes.
So easy.
So and you're standing there. We
was
literally
the rope there at the
yeah.
rock?
Mhm.
Oh, there was a line.
Yeah,
Wasn't
There
there?
can be a big line.
that mile took us over 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Because
Of the line.
Of the
I
line.
saw a photo and I was like, holy cow, there's going to
you
be
weren't
some
moving.
people
You
that
were
aren't very
not
happy
moving.
I know.
about that.
And you can't get around it because it's unsafe at that point.
Yeah.
And it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Really, it isn't.
Yeah. I was like, so scared about it, and then
Yeah.
when you get there, you're like, okay, well, this one's not that one's not the scary one.
No, it's not. I mean, I think that coming down it, you just got to be a little bit cautious.
Sketchy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
going up it, no big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most mellow climb out of the whole race for sure.
And then, so did you feel pretty good though at this point? I mean, you felt, good far as your mental side, your physical side. I mean, you felt like that's where you needed to be, is what you were doing right then.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I was lucky in the sense that mentally throughout basically the majority of the race, I just stayed really positive. I think that maybe that's something that is a strong suit that I have, though, and maybe most people don't. I don't know. I just always try to think of the positives and look
Right.
at where the good situations are and focus on that instead of maybe getting behind my schedule that I thought I would be
Right.
out in my mind.
So did you get behind early
Yeah.
on your schedule?
Mhm. Well, first Flying Monkey kind of threw it off.
Right.
Um,
But then, so once you got to the top of Smith Mesa, did you guys then try to make up a little bit of time?
Yeah, we were probably about only 20 minutes off
All
of
right.
where I kind of thought we would be.
And Smith Mesa, you can kind of make up some time. It's a roller.
Yeah.
Right. It's just constantly rolling. It's never really any flats.
Right.
And then after you came back to the aid station again, did you guys book it down the Mesa then?
We tried to go as fast as we could. Obviously, it's like kind of technical, and
Right.
so it's harder
But
to go super fast. But once you get down off of Flying Monkey and then trying to go through that area,
That
you
desert
definitely
area.
try to
Right.
pick it up there. And that was nice to be able to feel like you could run. And
So you get a little bit behind, and then you try to catch up. How are you feeling physically at that point? So it's still early in the race. It's still like mile 10 to 12-ish.
at that point, my nerves finally were like more settling down because I was really like the nerves were getting in my like the buildup of it, the buildup
Right.
of the race. You're finally releasing that, and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, well, I'm in the race. You
Now
don't
it's time
have
to do some work.
Yeah, now it's time to do some work. So you're getting over the initial shock of starting and that you're
Right.
actually doing it. And that was more like when the fun was, and it's just taking in the views of everything. And
Yeah.
just the sunrise that morning was absolutely unbelievable. The sky was like hot pink and purple.
Yeah.
I mean, you just were like in awe of being there. And so I
Right.
think at that point I was just having fun and soaking in the fact that I was doing it.
That's good.
Yeah.
So when you guys work your way over to the Dalton Wash aid station, right before you go out to Guacamole,
Uh-huh.
at that point you can run,
Yeah.
right? So once you go over to Dalton, you can get on that service road going out to Guacamole. Were
Yeah.
you guys running pretty good at that
Uh-huh.
point?
Yeah.
That's good.
That felt good.
Yeah.
That was a nice part.
So how was it when you were up on top of Guacamole? Because there's great views, but that one's hard to navigate.
Yes. That one was tough because they didn't have food or water there. They ran
at
out.
Guacamole?
I'm trying to think at Guacamole because
Yeah.
that's where you pass Dalton and you go up that super steep climb, and then it's just like that service road.
Yeah.
And when we got to the top, it's the aid station. The first swipe, it wasn't that wide.
Yeah, the first pass through.
Yeah, but then you're like running around. It's like you're running on the moon.
Yeah, it is.
It's white rock, and
Yep.
you feel like you're in a different planet, like in
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes.
And there's a
or
whole
something.
bunch of like petrified wood up there.
Yeah,
It's so neat.
it is so cool up there, and it's a whole different world up there. And it's kind of weird because you're passing other runners,
Right.
And the trail is it's single track, and so you're like feeling like you need to get out of the way for
Right.
the people that are ahead of you. But for the most part, it was pretty runnable up there, and it was
It's very
gorgeous
runnable,
up there.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Good.
way
Did you guys ever get
beautiful.
lost up there?
Not up there.
Good.
No.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's easy to get lost up on that one.
Yeah.
So you come back through the aid station the second time. They don't really have any food, and you got, I can't remember if it's 3 or it might be 7 miles maybe back to
Dalton.
Dalton.
Yeah,
But
they
it's
didn't
mostly
have,
downhill.
Yeah, it is downhill. So that I was looking forward to that because that's definitely runnable downhill.
Yeah.
Until you get to that very last stretch.
Right.
But it's a nice downhill.
So did you have your husband and your little girl at Dalton then?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah,
it
they
good to
were
see
there.
them? How
Oh,
was
yeah.
that?
My daughter was like, "Are you done yet?" And I'm thinking, you have no idea.
Exactly, right.
But it was so good. My husband had like a sandwich for me, and
Oh,
you
right
know, he
on.
just wanted to talk, and
Yeah.
because they hadn't had water at the top of the aid station when we came down, and it was hot at that point because it was in the afternoon.
Right.
Before we went to go see them, we like dipped our heads in the river, and it felt good.
Right on.
It was nice to kind of have that cool off.
That's my kind of thing right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rivers, lakes. So when did you feel, and up until that point, did you still feel good? Like you didn't have any low spots, any
That's good. So that's 30
mysteries?
miles
Yeah.
of solid running.
It felt like the quickest 50K I mean, I was just like, wow, I just ran a 50K and
Yeah.
like that went by quick.
So
Right
not
on.
quick, but you know.
So do you think, because we've talked about this, do you think you felt that way because you knew you were doing 100 miles?
Yeah. 100% mental. Like if I was in it to do
Good.
30 miles, then I would be dying at that point.
And you're like, is this over yet? But then you're
Right.
like, hey, that was easy. And
Yeah.
quick. And
Because
done.
it was
So
in my mind that
that's
I
what
was
your
going to
mind
go
is.
till the next day.
Yeah.
I was like, not as big of a deal as maybe it would be
Right.
if that was just your goal.
So was there a point that you started to hit kind of a low spot or a tougher time?
When we got
your-
to, I'm trying to think of the really steep climb.
Okay, so you go from Dalton Wash, you go over to Gooseberry, and you do the Goose Bump.
Goose Bump.
Yeah, the Goose Bump's the really steep one.
Goose Bump is really steep. And so looking at that, I knew that it was going to be a really steep climb, and it was kind of hotter in
Right.
the afternoon.
Yeah. No place to hide from the
No
sun.
place to hide from the sun there. It was gorgeous, though, leading up to that. And the beautiful rocky orange mountains that
Yeah.
are right there are
Mhm.
like just the craziest thing that you'd ever see. And they had one of their volunteers or somebody that worked for the race would like go up and down that Goose Bump and make sure people had like sunscreen and things like that and just cheering you on. And so that
That's
was really
cool.
nice that they had somebody cheering for you. And once you got to the top, it was really satisfying that you got up
You'd
to
done
like,
that, right?
yeah, that you got that over with because that was
Right.
one of the biggest climbs in the whole race.
So how was that aid station when you got up there? Because that's a big aid station.
Yeah, that one was nice. That
That
one
one's
was
rocking,
really
huh?
awesome.
That's where the quesadillas are.
Yeah.
That's where the burritos are at.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah, and you're celebrating by the time you get to the top of that, and so it's even better.
Exactly.
You're like, yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
And so what mile is that?
That's probably 40.
It's, well, I think it's like 45-ish, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
It's from Dalton to the Gooseberry one. It's not too far. It's just really steep.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got from Gooseberry 1 to Gooseberry 2, it's like a 10-mile loop.
That was kind of rough. That was where I
So
think
what do you mean? So what was rough
it
about
felt
that?
long. It
It
felt
was
really
long.
long. And waiting to get to the next aid station, you're just thinking, oh my gosh, like,
Right.
is it
it's
here
really
yet?
windy out there.
Uh-huh.
And it's
Yeah.
hard to...
And is that all on that rock too? That's
Yeah,
not
it's all on the
trail,
slick. It's
so
all
you
on the
get
slick
that-
rock up on top
Mhm.
of Gooseberry Mesa, and you go out to the Gooseberry Point.
Oh, I got
There's an
lost.
aid station out there. You do a little out and back, and then you come back to the Gooseberry, the main aid station. But it's really windy, and you're getting beat up from the slick rock.
Yeah,
at
it
that
definitely
point, right?
is. That's when it kind of started taking a toll on me, and I was
Right.
feeling it more in my feet.
Yeah.
Still feeling positive, but the miles were getting longer and longer.
Right. Were you
but
guys able to run a lot of that out there, or was it run walk at that point?
It was run walk
Yeah.
at that point. I mean, all of it was run walk, but
Yeah.
it was more. I was moving slower at that point
right.
than I had probably wanted to.
So it was hot during that daytime. Were you having any problems with the heat?
No, one of the problems that I did encounter though was because I had that cold the week before.
Right.
My nose was really stuffy. This sounds probably not that appealing, but so I was breathing out of my mouth,
Okay.
and my mouth got incredibly dry.
Oh.
Like it was hard to like swallow and things like that.
Wow.
I was drinking a lot of water,
Right.
but that is when it started becoming hard for me to eat food
Gum.
because I should have put gum in my mouth. Joel, let's write these down.
Gum.
See, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Gum.
Gum.
Okay, gum. No Mexican
Yeah.
No.
And gum.
and gum.
Gum.
And don't overpack.
Yeah.
Yeah, cheese curds you
You're
got to throw in
genius.
there.
We're working on it.
Yeah, you got to throw cheese. We're gonna write a book.
Right. Yeah.
Working on that too.
So yeah, at that point, that was kind of when it started becoming harder for me to eat, and that
Because your
became
mouth
a
was so
problem.
dry?
Mhm, that became a problem later because
But you weren't like dehydrated. It was
No.
just your mouth was super dry.
because
Like
I was
chap-
just
like your
breathing.
lips are chapped, but
Yeah.
you're
Uh-huh.
inside your mouth
Yep,
and throat.
because I
and-
was just breathing out of my mouth. I couldn't
Wow,
breathe
that's
out
a
of my
bummer.
nose. So that built up a little bit.
Oh, that stinks. All right, so you guys did that big loop out in Gooseberry and came back to the aid station twice. What time did you get back to that aid station again?
I honestly,
Was it because that's like mile 52, 54, somewhere in that area.
I didn't get into there until I think about 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it
it
was
was
later
getting
than
dark,
I had
right?
planned on.
So your stomach was holding up good that whole time?
At that point, it was starting to get queasy from not being able to eat solid foods, I think.
Because you couldn't swallow because
Mhm.
you're
Yeah.
dang.
And
Yeah.
have you ever had that before in your
No.
other races? That's your first time you've kind of had that stomach thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I definitely think that it was the mouth issue and not being able to. I couldn't even put a piece of bread in my mouth, and I just spit it out because I was like, no, I can't do this.
So I can't. You have to remind me. I don't remember if we talked about this last time. Do you drink Coke during a race?
Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew.
Mm-hmm. I can't do Coke during a race for some reason. Is that another one?
I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
got to be.
I can't do Mountain Dew.
You can't.
No.
I can't either.
Yeah, I can do some Coke.
Coke is the spot for me.
But I mean, were you doing that? Was that okay?
Yeah, I could do Mountain
That was
Dew.
getting you a little bit of energy.
And oranges.
Yeah.
Lots of oranges
Okay.
and fruit.
Right on.
Yeah.
Were you doing any gels at that time too?
No, I don't do a lot of gels.
No?
So what do
okay.
you do then in your normal race if you don't do gels? Do you try to do solids?
Yeah.
Like home type
PB&J.
food? Okay.
Yeah, we
Uh-huh.
did talk about PJ.
Yeah.
Her
That's right.
affinity for PB&J is
That's
strong
right.
during
I
the race.
love-
That's right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
did you have some of that or you couldn't be at that point?
I couldn't. I tried.
So
and
did
I
that
had to
go
spit it
away?
back out. No.
That dry mouth was there for the whole
You
time.
should have seen my lips like 3 days ago,
Really?
2 days
Just
ago.
beat.
They're finally recovered, but oh my gosh, they were
like full on alligator lips.
Yeah.
Alligator lips.
Alligator lips.
Yeah.
So you're having the problem. That's on the so mile wise, like 8 p.m. at night.
Uh-huh.
Mile, where are we at?
It's like 52 to 54, somewhere in that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so what happened from there? You're kind of getting ready to go into the night.
Did
Did you
which
guys?
is something you hadn't
you,
done
you
before.
go down the long service road at that point.
Yeah, the long service road.
Right.
And that
Was it dusty?
It was very dusty.
Did you wear a mask? Did we talk
No.
about that?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
I did.
Mask or snorkel.
No, I should have. We literally, I was like, I need to get my mask out at this point, and I just never did. I don't know
Dang.
if I just didn't want to
Right.
stop and take my pack off.
Right.
And at that point, when we're going along the long service road, was kind of a point where my feet started to hurt, and I could tell the blisters were coming.
Really? Did you think it was like a rock?
Yes,
or did you
it felt like rocks in
How?
my shoes, and I kept thinking, I am not going to stop again to get rocks out
Exactly.
of my shoes. And so I didn't stop, and I should have stopped, and that was probably one of my biggest problems, because by the time we got to that aid station after
Grafton.
the service road,
So Grafton's the aid station after the service road.
I took my shoes off.
Right.
And I was like, I need different shoes. I can't do these shoes. And everybody like looked at my feet. I had like my family there. My sweet friend Kim and her
Yeah.
husband Justin was there, and my husband, my mom and dad were there.
Oh, right
Yeah,
on.
my mom
That's
was-
cool.
My mom was like, "You said it on the podcast, so now I have to go."
Awesome.
That's way
She would have come anyway, but
Right.
she made sure to know that she listened. But anyway, they took my shoes off, and I had these like big blisters right underneath like the palm of my foot.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call that. The palm of your foot?
I like it.
That kind of went up into your toes.
Footbed.
The
palm of your
footbed.
foot.
Your foot knuckles.
That's
Bottom.
pretty cool. We could use
Foot
foot knuckles.
knuckle.
We could just use that one, foot knuckles. We love finding crazy
Let's go with the
stuff
ball
to
of your
hashtag.
foot. All right.
I'm like a foot. So your foot knuckles had some blisters.
The lower foot knuckles.
Oh, that
The
sounds
lower
so
foot knuckles.
gross.
The phalange.
Yeah. So I changed my socks, and they tried to put some stuff on them.
Right.
And
Did
changed
you
my
did
shoes.
you try to pop them? Did you try to
Um,
drain them?
Yes, we did try. We did pop them at
Okay.
that point. Yeah.
Was that kind of like so? You at that point you're like, okay, I've got blisters, not rocks in my shoes.
Yes.
They're bad.
Yeah.
After you drained them, did you have some relief?
At first, it was still sensitive.
Was it affecting your movement leading into the aid station?
A little bit, yeah. The way my foot would hit the ground was definitely altered.
Was it slowing you down? Okay.
Yeah, it was.
So have
It
you
was
had
slowing me
foot
down.
problems like that ever before in your other
No,
races?
I don't usually get a lot of blisters. I shouldn't have worn the shoes I wore though, and
But
that's
do you
one
think
of
it's
my
the shoe
biggest.
problem, or do you think it's the distance and the slick rock?
And the sand.
It could have been
or-
the slick rock.
Because I mean that is just it's weird.
It's punishing.
It is
'Cause
punishing.
It's just that little slide every
yeah,
step.
Yeah.
and
one
it's
way or
really
another.
windy out there.
I mean, that definitely could have been. I felt like my first instinct is to think it was my shoes because
Right.
I wore a pair of Ultras that are a little looser, but they
Right.
had more
Ooh.
cushion,
Right.
but they weren't.
So you thought your
tight
foot was
on my
moving
feet,
around in
too
there?
much friction or whatever.
Right.
Whatever you
So
call.
do you put some? Do you lube up your feet? That sounded
No,
weird.
Do you put any lube on your
I
foot
did not
knuckles?
put no lube on my foot
There's no
knuckles.
safe way of asking that.
Do you
right?
grease up your foot knuckles?
Yeah, do you-
Is that not getting a reply? Do you put anything on your feet to help prevent blisters
No,
and friction?
yeah.
no,
You do not.
no.
Okay.
Okay.
Add
That
it to the
answers that.
list.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things we recommend here on the show.
'Kay.
Right.
Number one, not in any particular order. There's two
No.
ways to go.
Yeah.
If you don't like greasy feeling,
Right.
okay, there's squeaky cheeks
Right.
that we use. It's powder.
Not to be confused with cheese curds.
No.
Oh, not in
no.
the same ballpark.
Yeah, not even.
No.
They're both great
Although,
for running.
I do like me some squeaky cheeks.
Oh, I love me some squeaky cheeks.
Yeah. I use it almost every time I go out and run.
I use it almost
So
every
it's
day.
the product is called Squeaky
Squeaky
Cheeks.
cheeks.
Yeah,
It's a powder.
it's so-
It's a powder. It's a
Yeah.
dry powder, but you can put it if you don't like some people just don't like that greasy feeling or
Yeah.
that slick feeling.
Right.
You put that in your socks as works. But the other one is that I use, I think Joel uses, we love, squirrel's nut butter.
Yeah.
And
I've heard of
that's-
that.
Yeah, and that
So those
comes
two
in a
things.
stick.
Squirrel's nut butter is not just for
And it's not just for squirrels.
No.
Okay.
No, and it's
No.
not
That's
something
what I
you put.
thought.
No,
Yeah.
that's you're like shopping at the IFA or something.
Yeah,
We're shopping
exactly.
at running stores.
Right.
You're next to the Utter Butter.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
over here. No,
But
so it's
the squeaky cheeks you can put in your socks, and that helps keep your feet fairly dry.
dry.
Right.
Huh.
And then the squirrel's nut butter is just like a stick.
It's like a salve
And you
stick.
can do that for chafing, for
Right.
arms, feet,
And
stuff
it
like
comes
that.
in like a little
Deodorant
stick, but they're about like that big, so you can carry it with you in your pack.
And-
Okay.
Yep.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's what we
And the squeaky cheeks comes in a single serving packet,
that's fun.
and you can right there in
it's-
the old pack.
It's
Really?
messy.
Yeah, it is. Well,
It's a little messy because powder.
it takes you 1 or 2 tries to get it like dialed in.
Like I'm totally dialed in.
Yeah,
Yeah. Daily product.
right.
Okay.
So I think that going forward, when you do this again, change your socks,
Okay.
but have the socks prepared with squeaky cheeks
Yeah.
Okay.
beforehand. So like 2 days out from the race, you're taking your squeaky cheeks and you're dumping it in your socks. And then what you got to do with your socks is you got to take your socks and pull them, right? So
Uh-huh.
the squeaky cheeks gets all in the socks. And then you're going to put your socks in a Ziploc bag,
Okay.
Yep.
right? Because that squeaky cheeks will get everywhere.
Yeah, and then it
And you
also
don't want
keeps it
that.
in there, and you can shake it around like it's
Yeah,
like shake and
exactly.
bake for your socks.
It's a
Okay.
total shake. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Shake and bake.
Shake
with
and
your
bake for the
socks.
socks.
And
Okay.
it's seriously,
Yeah,
it's money.
it's money.
Yep. And then you change it, and it feels good.
I'm
It
learning
does- yeah.
so
Yeah.
much.
We'll get you some squeaky cheeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been hoarding mine for years.
Yeah, I've got some. I just cleaned out my garage. But that's good for your feet,
Right.
for different things. Or there's the squirrel's nut butter, which I've been using a lot more of lately, for sure.
I like them both.
Yeah, for sure. You can't go wrong either way, and it's just a preference, and it's just
I prefer
application-wise.
both.
Oh, I do too.
I doubled
The
up.
combination.
Yeah, there's certain parts of your body where one is more appropriate than the other.
Yep. Joel's gonna have a diagram he'll put on
Yes, I
Drawing
will.
like a stick figure
Human
with
body
circles
and have
and
little
arrows.
Like
arrows
old
and-
school, like 1950s, like infomercial for the kids in the classroom, right?
Yeah.
With the old kind of projector reel.
There you go.
I'm gonna
That'd
make
be
one of
awesome. Little
those. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be awesome. Like the
Okay.
maturation film.
So let's get back to your big
Knuckles on
foot
your
knuckles.
feet.
Foot
Yeah.
So
So you leave in Grafton, right?
Yes.
And it's
Mhm.
dark at that point,
Yes.
right?
Very.
And it's kind of downhill to the cemetery aid station.
Yeah.
I wish you could have seen that in the daytime.
I know. Is there a cemetery?
There is.
Oh my gosh. We were like, where is this? And okay, so starting down from the aid station at Grafton going towards the cemetery,
Right.
probably only like 10 minutes after we left there, I'm stepping and all of a sudden like sharp pains and I can feel like the blisters are
Right.
like really coming through at that point. So we
Ah.
had to stop and take my shoes off and pop more blisters at
Really?
that point. And then going through, because it's kind of windy.
It's really windy.
We got lost, and there was
On
a
the way
group of
down,
us
the way
on
back
the way
up?
down.
Okay.
We got lost on the way down and probably spent, I would say, at least a half hour
Really?
trying to figure out
shoot.
where to go, because at that point you're kind of disoriented.
Right.
You can't tell which way the markers are going at
Right.
that point. I mean, it's just really confusing. I actually heard that quite a few runners got lost at that point, and
Okay.
it cost some people some miles.
Right.
But going down that steep.
The descent coming
uh-huh.
off the mesa going down to the aid station.
Mhm.
That's
My-
pretty technical.
Yeah, and my feet were really hurting at that point, and
Right.
the blisters were really popping through at that point. And so we realized that we were probably pushing up against some time cutoffs, and that we needed to start trying to pick up the steps.
Right.
Otherwise, I was going to get swept. And so, starting from right before we got to the cemetery, it became more and more of a reality that I might not make a time cutoff, and that we had to be a lot more conscientious.
So how are you dealing with that mentally? Once you realize that you're up against that cutoff, was that like just more motivation for you to keep pushing past that discomfort that your feet were telling you?
Yeah, at that point I was like, I am not getting swept. I am not going to not make this cutoff. Like, I didn't come all this way to not make it, especially not this early in the race. Like, there was no chance I was going to let that happen. And so it definitely helped me to push through that pain. Like, there was a lot of steps where I was kind of screaming out loud, like, ah,
right,
or wincing a little bit. It probably sounds a little bit like a baby or whatever, but, having those underneath both feet, between the toes where you're having all that movement.
Right.
That's where, all the action's happening in your toe knuckles.
The action in the toe knuckles. I'm liking this already. Wow, that's where all the action happens. What mile you at?
That part, it was almost 60.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
I think the cemetery is about 60.
Yeah, it's like 56, something like that.
And for people that aren't aware, because you may not know, when she says she didn't want to get swept, in a lot of these races they have a sweeper.
Right.
And so that's the person that kind of comes up the tail end of the race and makes sure all runners are accounted for, and where the cutoff times are, to where, hey, you need to either go, stop, or whatever. So that's what when she says sweat.
So how are you moving through the aid stations? Were you being conscious about that, not spending too much time in the aid stations?
Yeah, up until that point, we were trying to be very conscious about the aid stations and not wasting a lot of time there.
Probably it could be easy. It's easy to waste time in there, right?
Mm-hmm. And I'm not.
You get caught up with all the yummy foods.
Yeah. I'm not the fastest runner, but I figured we might be able to make up some time by not spending a lot of time at the aid stations. So hopefully that would kind of help in that arena.
That's cool. Good.
In the cemetery one, we were in and out because I did not want. We had the hill to climb. My feet were. You go down a hill and then you have to climb back up a hill, and we had to make it to that one. I want to say, I can't even remember. It was probably around midnight or so, though.
Right.
And then we got to the Goosebump aid station again.
Right.
Which is
that's a long climb back.
That is a long climb. And then
coming
back
up that service road.
Yeah. By that point, I was sleepwalking.
I'm sure.
I've never experienced that in my life.
So
that was a trip.
What time do you think you pulled into the Gooseberry 3?
I think it was probably, I would say 1 in the morning.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think it was about 1 in the morning.
So when did you start getting tired? Did you get tired at Grafton 2?
Yeah.
Or so at Grafton 2 you were tired, or was it between Grafton 2 and Goosebump 3?
It was probably between Grafton 2 and Goosebump 3.
Yeah, that service road's monotonous.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like straight.
And between Grafton, between like the cemetery and getting back to Grafton, that was really technical too.
That is.
Especially
it's hard. It's
for
really
it being
windy.
Dark at night, and it's windy.
And it's hard to see the flagging. It's not easy.
Yeah. So definitely moving slower. At that point, I was starting to get a little bit discouraged because I didn't want to get swept, and my feet were hurting so bad, and I couldn't move as fast as I wanted.
So were you still drinking Mountain Dew at that time?
No, I could not do any more soda because my stomach was like a wreck at that point.
So were you able to eat at that point?
I ate. Don't judge me. I ate some mashed potatoes. Is that okay?
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay,
that's
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had my husband make me some mashed potatoes because I was like, I needed something that was a little wet.
Right, yeah.
And I didn't really want any more broth because at that point it was mostly just broth and water.
Yeah.
And definitely at that point I couldn't do any more soda even if I wanted to. So probably some caffeine through the night would have helped.
So did we talk about this last time? About the Starbucks?
No.
Okay, so get the Starbucks Via. Do you know what those are? They're single-serving Starbucks, and they come in powdered, and they come in a
little tube.
Little tube, yeah, and it's like that big.
Okay.
So 3 inches, and you can put them in your drop bag. And if you know that you're going to be at an aid station, say like you knew you were going to be at Grafton 2 at nighttime, and Grafton 2 has hot water, you can pull that out of your drop bag, and you can make yourself coffee. Right like then instant. And there. And it's good coffee because you can't rely on those guys to have good coffee at their aid station.
It's either weak or cold or
it's not
ready.
They don't have it.
Yeah.
And you can have the coffee that you're normally used to every single day by getting those Starbucks Vias.
That's a good idea, too.
Yeah.
I'm adding that to the list.
Yep. You can put them in your vest and just put a little powder in between your
Yeah, you can totally do that, too. Yeah, they're small enough. You can put them in your vest.
Coffee chew.
Yeah.
Just a little suck on that.
You
a little nip.
Yeah.
That's what we'll go with that.
We're going to have to try that one day.
Yeah.
Just a normal run.
Yeah, try it.
All over the place.
Because you get a little water, just let it drip through there like your own little, holy cow. When you
Filter?
make coffee. Yeah, not filter, but your
Lip filter.
Yeah, whatever. It'll come to me. But yeah, it'll work. So you're having some problems. Is there any point up until now that in your head you thought, hey, I may not, either I'm going to time out or, hey, I may not finish this race?
Yeah, on that stretch back on the road, on the service road, where I was kind of like sleepwalking, and I did have problems with like, let's just sit down for a second. I just want to close my eyes for a second.
No.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't happen a lot, but there's probably like, 2 times where I'm like, let me just sit and close my eyes for
Was Johnny really good at that point saying, no, we got to keep going?
No. And that was a
tired
mistake.
too?
That was a big, I mean,
no.
I love you, John. Forgive me. But in hindsight, in talking to like him and like my husband and like a couple other friends and stuff, we should have had somebody come with us.
Right.
And through the middle of the night that
Yeah,
was
push it
coherent and still had energy. Because when you get 2 really tired runners together, you're both like, okay, yeah, like we'll just sit here for a second and close our eyes.
Right.
And and when you do that though, it's so nice.
Yeah.
You're out under the stars.
But it's cold. Was it cold up on the mesa?
No, the temperature was perfect.
That's good.
It was perfect the whole night. I wore my shorts.
Right on.
And I don't even think I threw a jacket on at that point.
Wow.
You know,
That's awesome.
it was a gorgeous night. Temperature was perfect. So, yeah, just sleepwalking.
Yeah. So when you get back to Gooseberry 3, you had some mashed potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Did your spirits pick up a little bit? Because that aid station is like big, it's bright, there's kind of a lot going on.
It was definitely a relief to get there because it was one more stretch that...
And it's mile 68.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And so that aid station felt good.
Right.
And then we had to go down the really technical
You had to go down the goose bump
hill. And that was a little nerve-wracking.
So how was that with the blisters?
I was scared.
And the tired legs and the tired mind.
Yeah. I was scared I was going to fall asleep and go over the edge.
Did you really? Oh.
I mean, obviously I didn't, but that was the thought. I was like, okay, I got to wake up because we're going down the super technical steep part, and I don't want to get injured or anything, you know.
Was it dusty when you guys were going down?
No, it wasn't that bad.
That's good.
Yeah, it was not that bad. There wasn't a whole lot of people around us at that time, and so, not a lot of activity going down that, just us.
So are you pre-wake by the point? So you get down to the bottom. Are you really wake at that point?
At that point, but then the sleep hit again.
Going out to the next, going out to the desert aid.
Yes.
That's a long way out to that desert aid station, isn't it?
It's
8 miles from Goosebump 3 to the desert aid. It's 8 miles.
For some reason, I thought it was only 6.
But it's more like 8.
It is. It's 9.
Yeah.
Legitimately, it's 9 miles.
It's like 6, like 8, like 9. I think it's like 12.
One of the problems is you don't see the aid station until you're right on top of it. And the whole time you're like, where the hell is this aid station?
That part.
And it's windy and you're down that riverbed. And
during that section
that's a big
was when
nightmare.
I really kind of realized, okay, this might be harder than I thought to like make the cutoff. One, because it was discouraging to keep thinking that we were going to be there at the aid station.
So how are you dealing with that at that point? So you have the sleep monster. You're getting discouraged. How are you working through that?
I did cry for a minute.
Right? Like legit cry?
Legit cry. Yeah. I was just like, just the reality of the possibility of not finishing kind of hit me at that moment. And I just, I did cry a little bit thinking, oh my gosh, my mom and dad are here.
Yeah.
I have friends that are coming. I have a pacer that still hasn't come to pick me up yet.
Did you feel like you're letting them down?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I was so worried that I was going to let everybody down and that it was just, I don't know, that they'd be mad that they drove all that way.
But you got there, right? You got to mile 75.
Mm-hmm.
That's the farthest you've ever gone.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And what time did you get to mile 75? Was it still dark?
I'm trying to think. No, the sun had come up, and that was really nice.
Okay.
When the sun came up, we got a jolt of energy.
Isn't that cool?
That's
yes.
the best.
It was almost like a light switch went, I mean, literally in the sky, but like in your mind, all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I want to make it. I don't want to get swept. And so we were at that point, okay, we're going to run to this spot. We're going to run to that spot. And just trying to pick points to keep running to.
Right.
So that we could quicken our miles and things like that and try to get back. Because we had to get back to Virgin by, I think, 8:30 in the morning.
So was that to mile 75, or was that to mile like 81?
No,
Because once you
I
get
believe
to
it was mile 75.
Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely mile 75. So getting to that aid station was a nightmare, and that was like discouraging and things like that. And I had sent my husband a text, and I just said, I'm really struggling right now. I'm in a lot of pain, and there's a chance that I might not make it.
Right.
And I just said, both of us need, like, we need something. We need to pick me up. We need,
Right.
And my friend Kim was waiting at the aid station because she was going to take us through Virgin.
Right.
And she decided to run towards us.
Okay.
And when I saw her face, I literally just broke down in tears and just started sobbing and gave her the biggest hug ever, because it was just, not that I didn't want to like be with John anymore or anything, but like seeing a new face and having that energy and knowing, that the aid station was coming close, it gave me hope that maybe I wasn't going to get swept.
Right.
And so when she did finally meet up with us, she's like, you guys, I'm sorry, but we still got a couple miles till the aid station. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Worst friend ever.
Yeah.
No,
it's one of those.
Don't say that, because then I'm going to get grief for that. Just like the creepy Instagram husband thing.
Yeah, we got some comments on that.
Yeah.
That'll be at the end.
There's always someone, not just your friend, but there's people that do that at races. That, it's around the corner.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
and then
the
you got
worst.
like 2 miles.
Yeah,
you're only a
exactly.
couple more miles. So
Yeah.
we know what you're saying.
The reality of it was good, though, because then it helped me to be like, okay, like, I've got to start picking it up more.
Right.
I don't want to get swept. So it kind of added that element of, okay, like, get that fire lit under your butt and let's get this taken care of.
So you get to mile 75. You've got a pacer. You've got family. You got friends there.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally, it's turned around because it's daytime.
Yeah.
But your feet are still a wreck. Are
Yeah.
they getting worse at that point?
Yeah. And it was starting to set into, like, my ankles and stuff.
Like the swelling was like your feet were getting swollen?
I think because I was walking differently, the joints and stuff in my legs were maybe not liking the way I was walking.
Right. So were you walking more at that point than running?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I mean, well, actually, leading up to that aid station, I probably had ran more than I ran in the entire dark part of the evening.
Right.
Just because I was trying to make the cutoff.
Yeah.
But John actually decided to run ahead about a mile before we hit the Virgin aid station to go get food and water. He was going to refill my bag so that we could just go in and out.
Right.
And when he got there, they told him he had missed it. He got there at like 8:35.
Yeah.
And they were like, you can't go on, you're done.
Right.
And he's like, no, this is a soft cutoff. Like, that's not a hard cutoff. We have until, like 11:30 or whatever to make these loops. And you can't sweep us yet. And so he got really discouraged at that point, but convinced them that it wasn't a hard cutoff, and so we could still go back out.
Right.
And when I came back in too, they basically told me that I was done. And I was like, well, I still want to go as far as I can.
Right.
And so despite their advice, I was like, you know what? Even if I'm not going to make the cutoff, I still want to get this last 5 miles in and just say I made it as far as I possibly could.
So when you're in the aid station, were you guys trying to take care of your feet at that point, or were you
no,
just
I
like,
was just
screw
trying
it,
to bust it through.
I'm just going to go and do the red loop?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. There wasn't time to do my feet, even if I wanted. And so probably like the first 2 miles of the red loop, which is the first of the 3 Virgin loops, I was doing quite a bit of running.
Yeah, there's a lot of good running on that that first 5 mile loop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then my body just was like,
you get back to 84. And were you actually timed out at that point, or were you just done? Or combination of both?
Yeah, by the time I got back at that mile, which technically in the race is 82, but really it was like 84.
Right.
Because there's some hidden miles in that. So by the time I got back to that one, it was about 10:30 or so.
Okay.
And they were like, there's no point to...
Right.
I mean, I knew there was no point to go out to the second loop.
Well, I mean, if you could have run, it would have been a different story.
So I would have had to do the 6 miles in probably about 45 minutes.
Right.
And I don't think I've
That
ever
would've been
run that
pretty fast.
in my entire life.
Yeah.
But I was glad because, it was really sad. And when I came in at mile 84, my husband was incredibly nice, and he organized my parents being there. They were going to be at the end, but he knew I was going to be done. And so he had my mom and dad there, and, that was really bittersweet because I got to get hug my mom and cry in her arms, and
Right.
but having
still her
them there at
baby.
my end of the race
Right.
was really cool. And John actually, he went back out, and before we were done doing that first red loop, the 6 mile loop, in the middle of that, he had actually decided he was going to go for it. He had a lot more gas left in him.
Right.
And so he barreled down the trail, and he did like some 7-minute miles in the end of that race, and I have no idea how he pulled that out of
Right.
him. But it was exciting for me to watch him and, watch him come from each loop. And I sat there, and, my family sat there.
Right.
And Kim stayed with me to finish my part off. My pacer came with me.
Right.
And as we came in, John was already going through the second loop.
Right.
And my mom and dad were like, Kim, to my pacer, like, go get John. Go make sure he gets into the
Right.
end. So she
That's
just
cool.
bolts down the trail, and she carried him to the end.
That's
And it was
awesome.
so exciting. I felt good that my pacer, that Kim came and that she was able to help him.
Best friend ever, like
oh
I
my
said.
gosh, amazing. Kim, you need to know Kim. She's
Okay.
amazing. Kim
Nice.
Haslam. Kimmy Cat.
Kimmy Cat.
Kimmy
Cat.
Cat
Kimmy
Haslam.
Kimmy Cat
Right on.
Haslam.
She's an amazing runner.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So your race is over.
Yeah.
At mile 84,
Mhm.
right? It's hard to take everything in at the moment because you're so raw and all
Yeah.
the emotions. Like you said, your family's there, your parents are there. But ultimately, how did you feel? Like, if you could remember, how did you feel when you're like, okay, my race is done, it's at 84?
I definitely cried. I think that one, you're exhausted emotionally. You've been up for, 24, 30 hours all night, no sleep and stuff like that. And at first I just felt really disappointed in myself that I couldn't pull it out. I felt like you kind of start analyzing the whole thing and think, well, I could have done better here. I could have done better here. This is where I should have done this. All of the what ifs and stuff like that. But I quickly realized there was no sense in doing that. I made it 84 miles.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I learned an immense amount of things that I didn't know before. And the experience all over was a great experience, and I couldn't complain about it. I was in pain. My feet hurt, and you can't control that. I don't
Yeah.
think you can fully control some of the
Right.
things that happen. And so I just had to realize it's okay and own that I rocked 84 miles and
Yeah.
not that I didn't finish the 100-miler,
That's an awesome attitude
Yeah.
because
It
it is
is.
hard. I think a lot of people have been there. I've been there where you don't get your goal,
Yeah.
DNF, whatever it is, but you know that what you set out to do, and that what you mentioned earlier was like, I didn't want to let anybody down, have them be disappointed. That
Yeah.
just goes through your mind.
Mhm.
That's just human nature, but your attitude about it and the fact that you are willing to come on the show so soon and just be cheery and tell us your story is awesome.
I know this sounds really weird, but I honestly think that it's almost a good thing that I failed. And that probably sounds really strange, but you kind of have that pressure that builds up, and you put that pressure on yourself, like I can't fail and everybody's going to judge me, and then they're going to think, I'm not a good athlete or I'm not a good runner, and it's going to take away from, I don't know, whatever idea you have about yourself. But that hangs over your head. The idea of failure kind of hangs over your head. And I think it's good that I got that failure over with because I realized life goes on and
Right.
I'm okay and I'm more inspired now.
Right
and I
on.
think that's lucky for me that I'm leaving the situation super stoked to just like improve and like run more and have
Right.
fun while I do it. So I think it's good that is not hanging over my head anymore. I got that over with. I failed and it's not that big of a deal.
That's an incredible attitude. It really is. Just to be stoked, because it's kind of the opposite for a lot of times,
Yeah.
where you're like bummed and you're like, you go through this time of, I don't want to run anymore for a while. I need to take some time off or whatever else. So, because Joel texted me, because he found out, and he texted me right away when he found out.
Yeah.
And he,
Yeah.
we were bummed.
Yeah.
But big picture, like I was talking to my wife about, like from 4 years ago to now. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
That's
Yeah.
a huge improvement.
It does 16 miles is nothing, really. And that's really what it was. So
Yeah.
to see your attitude towards it, I think, is even more impressive than the race itself,
I appreciate that.
because that is hard to do. But we talked about it when you came on last time, is what you've gone through in your quote unquote journey.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're facing going forward now it's not that tough. You know what I mean? I mean, it is. Don't get me wrong, but
right.
It's tough.
yeah, it's
No.
tough. But I mean, what you've already experienced, like you said, there's life goes on.
Yeah.
Right? And now you're more inspired.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
Like Joel mentioned, with you running Javelina this year in October.
Wow, you just blew that up.
Yeah.
No,
I might have goaded her into signing up for a race already. That was like one of the first things I asked her. I said, so have you been stalking Ultra Sign Up looking for your next race? And she goes, yeah, kind of. I was like, let me help you.
He knew where my mind was
That's
at.
right.
Right. So when you do look back on it a little bit, I mean, overall, like what's the number one or the biggest thing that you'll take away from that race?
Not to be scared to try something that scares the crap out of you.
There you go.
Because you survived.
Yeah.
You lived.
You
Yeah.
did. You survived.
Yeah.
I survived.
I mean, you had balloon feet, alligator lips,
yeah.
but
My
Foot
toe
knuckle
knuckles.
issues.
the toe knuckles, right?
Let's not even talk about the toe knuckles.
Yeah. But you're over it.
Yeah.
And you're still you.
Still laughing, still having fun,
Yep.
still looking forward to running again.
Yeah.
Nice.
Looking forward to Zion next year.
There you go.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah. That's
those
awesome.
buckles are cool, aren't
yeah.
Yeah.
That was sad watching everybody get their buckles. But I was super stoked watching all the people come in and stuff. And,
they? Right.
it's just an amazing thing to just be a part of and witness. And, yeah.
Yeah, because you know firsthand what all those people pretty much in a roundabout way have gone through to get to where they're
Yeah.
at.
They all experienced that same pain and discomfort you
Yeah.
did.
And the training and the sacrifices
Yeah.
and the early mornings and the late nights and all that stuff. So it is rewarding because you're like looking at them and going, hey, that may not be me right now, but I know
It's
what that
amazing.
person has done and
Yeah.
what an accomplishment it is. So, and I think we talked about it before we went on the show is, because you asked us, you said, what's your favorite show you've done? And we went over the thing and I'm like, I can't pick one. There's too many fun moments, too many great guests. But we mentioned to you that your show was probably one of the more popular ones. I mean, we haven't looked at complete stats, but I mean, the comments we received, the inspiration, like I told you, my wife was totally inspired.
That's awesome.
And she doesn't run, but she
That's so
wants
cool.
to. But I think that's what, overall, that's kind of your, I don't know, mentality and what, like we talked about before, kind of your aura, that draws people. So I had no doubt that if you, before talking today, that you'd be back to doing another race. But it's interesting to see how excited you are.
Yeah. Exactly. So what's going on between now and Vaquero Loco? Anything?
Oh, I have been teetering with the idea of squaw, peak 50.
How are your feet looking right now?
They actually look like really bad calluses.
Okay. So I think the only reason I was kind of hesitant that if you got those really deep blisters, those
Uh-huh.
things are going to be there
For a while.
for a while.
Yeah.
And you're going to have that fresh baby skin. So play that one by ear.
That's what I
Yeah.
figured as much, yeah.
Right.
I don't really have any other plans other than just running around
Right on.
Ogden.
Yeah.
It's a good place to run around. But you learned a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Learned a lot, a lot more going into your next one.
Yeah.
That you experienced, not what you've read or researched or studied, but for
Right.
you, what you could have used, maybe could have done without, mindset change or whatever it is. And I think that's just as valuable lesson, just like in life, right? You learn from your bumps and your bruises.
Yeah.
So what's your next one going to be?
Maybe Javelina.
So the Javelina 100s?
Javelina. That's a rookie mistake.
Yeah.
right
That's
there.
okay. That's a rookie mistake.
The Javelin 100,
Javelina.
The Javelina.
Jan.
because that's in October.
That's Halloween weekend.
Yeah. And then right when I left Zion, I was like, I'm coming back next year.
Yeah.
So I'm
you have
definitely
to.
going to go back to that one next
'Cause
year.
you know the course now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that'll,
You know where you can run faster.
yeah, I will. I took a lot from that experience, and I want to go back and try it again. So
Cool.
yeah,
It's awesome. We
me and Javelina.
you and the jab.
You and the jab.
You and the jab.
So what's because that one you kind of have to wear a costume. What's your costume
I
going to
don't
be?
even know, but I was looking at that, and I was just kind of thinking about that.
Because
Yeah,
it
get
has to
some
be
ideas.
strategic. You
Oh,
don't
I
want
gotta
you
have
don't
an
want to be like
awesome
super
costume.
hot, right?
Right.
You got to think of something.
Help me.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Comment. Tell me what
I'm
I
at
should
a
be.
loss on that one.
Yeah, I don't even know what I would do. I got too many going through my head that I
Yeah.
would do.
I'm sure my 6-year-old can help me think of
Oh,
something.
that'd be
Yes,
good.
there you go.
That'd be good.
Channel my inner 6-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be easy to do. So
That's cool.
Well, hey, thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
I know, because sometimes it is hard to talk about, but I don't think there's anything you'd have a hard time talking about. What you spill to us is amazing. Thanks for sharing cheese curds.
Yeah.
Deep Fried Cheese Curds, your first cheese curd ever.
They're amazing.
They are, right?
Yes.
Roosters Brewing Company, Ogden, Utah.
Yep.
Man, they're amazing. And we had some beverages that were tasty. And just had a great time.
Yeah.
So congratulations on the race.
Yeah.
I know it
Thank
didn't
you.
go 100% how you wanted it to, but it sounds like you're coming away more determined and stronger. Plus, again, you know a lot more than going into it.
Yeah.
And then next time, just talk to Joel. Right?
Can you come next time?
Yeah.
I'll probably be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm going to race.
Yeah. Joel's going to race. He's going to put on the squirrel's nut butter and
That's
go
right.
for it.
Yeah.
That's right.
He's going to rev right up. Well, thanks for joining us. Good luck, with your recovery.
Yeah.
But he looks like you recovered pretty good. That's what you said when we talked to you. Next up for sure is El Vaquero, which we're going to be at.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yes.
That'll
yeah,
be fun.
It'll be a lot of good, really good time. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Be proud of yourself for sure, which I hope you are, and just know all the people you have inspired, not just through your first podcast with us, but even what you've doing today. So
Yeah.
thanks for taking the time with us. I know you're a busy person, but we appreciate it, and we'll see you on the trails.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to the Trail Manners podcast. We'd like to thank Melissa Solomon once again for taking the time to join us. Had a great time here at Roosters Brewing Company in Ogden, Utah, having some local beverages as well as these deep fried, gooey goodness cheese curds. We want to encourage everybody to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Trail Manners, or you can swing by our website at trailmanners.com. There on the store page, you can check out some cool gear. Go ahead and get some swaggin' rights, or you can get us up on the contact page. Let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear, or even if you would like to be on the show. Until next time, this is Eric Manning with Joel Hatch reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.